Welcome to The Fix. Sit down with copywriting experts Nick O'Connor and Glenn Fisher as they review, discuss, and improve real-world copy sent in by you. This is The Fix.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Fix. Today, something a little bit different for you. Now, we've just finished recording a special episode of The Fix Accelerator with Kim Krause Schwalm'S. So she is a very, very experienced copywriter who's spent a long time both writing copy and mentoring other copywriters. You'll hear a little bit more about what she does and what she offers in the rest of today's video. Now, most of that recording was just for members. So we reviewed two pieces of copy that had been sent in by Fix Accelerator members. However, we asked Kim if it would be okay if we shared the second part of our conversation where she talked more about advice she's given to up-and-coming writers over the years, the things that she finds herself saying again and again and again. If you're a long-term listener, some of them will be familiar to you because they're things that we've said at various different points, although expressed differently, of course. And then there was a few interesting new things. And one idea that I thought was a great way of editing your work that we sort of stumbled upon. You'll have to watch the full video to get that. So we're going to cut in a second to the second part of that conversation. But Glenn, if people don't know what the Fix Accelerator is, give them the 60 second, and I do mean 60 seconds, not the Glenn Fisher 60 seconds, which as we all know is 15 minutes, rundown of what the Fix Accelerator is.
Fix Accelerator is a private network run by me and Nick, where we will connect you as best we can to the world of copy. Everybody we know, everybody we have met in our time, and we do that by these things. We do masterclasses. So me and Nick each do masterclasses teaching you how to do various copy things. We do some together, some separately. We do copy reviews. If you are a member, you can send your copy in and we will review it, post the video, and you get to see our thoughts and suggestions on live copy or existing copy. We have Inside Insight videos where we would each month we interview, at the moment it's about 3 or 4 different experts from the industry, big names from Agora world like John Ford, big names from the agency side and advertising like Vicky Ross. They are the best people in the business, and we are interviewing them, and members are getting videos of their thing. Every episode is about an hour long. We also do social events. So wherever we are in the country, meeting these experts, that evening we do a social event where members can come. We have had one so far, which was in Paris. We had a load of members there with people from Agora copywriters. They're fantastic. We also do other things. Oh, we have the Discord where we do a live thing every Friday, although we kind of vary the dates, where me and Nick are there talking, jabbering as we normally are, but also review copy, speak to members. You come online, you show your video, we all talk and have a party. It's all good. And then we're just generally there or thereabouts. That's the network side of things. It is good.
Do you know what? I don't know if that was success, but that's the most concise I've ever heard you be.
Well done. It's the afternoon. I need a wee. So I'm motivated to have a wee. I'm now weak. No, I'm not weak.
Always edit your work when you need the toilet.
Yeah.
But not too much because you don't want to have any accidents. Right. This is the part that I was trying to avoid when I imposed it. If you want to learn more about the Accelerator, we'll post a link to more information in the comments directly beneath this video. So check that out. But now let's do a horrible crash cut. No, Glenn, you're going to edit this. Let's cut to Kim talking about things that pieces of advice that she gives to all up and coming copywriters. So let's cut to that now. And we'll see you again for another episode of The Fix at some point in the future. Thank you and enjoy the show. Do you find yourself giving new writers or up and coming writers, I suppose the categories could change a little bit, the same pieces of advice over and over again. You know, you've been training people for a long period of time. Like, what are the things that you find are just common and universal to everyone that you like that?
Well, I mean, what I just said, you know, try taking the first 5 or 6, 5 paragraphs out of your lead and see what happens. I think read your copy out loud. You know, we start to really notice that when we do these live copy reviews, because we're literally reading the copy out loud. And you know, if the writer originally who wrote it did that before they turned it in, they would catch so many things like the long run-on sentences or the, oh, I missed a word or a typo that caused sort of this hiccup while I'm reading it. You don't want that to happen, obviously, with the reader or the client. But another more important things too, like maybe this is going on too long, with the story. And, so I think just reading your copy out loud to yourself, even though people like in the next room might think you're crazy, is like a really good thing to do.
I often found if you can bear it, get somebody to read it out loud. So they're reading it for the first time.
True. Yeah.
Because that's why we read the copy aloud when we review copy. And if I'm doing a copy review with people, I always say, right, I'll read it out loud. Because even just in the little bits where I stumble, or,
yes.
You have to read the sentence twice because the first time
or something's confusing, you realize, and again, you don't ever want to confuse or make your reader stumble, or you risk losing them. I mean,
you knew what you were trying to say, so you might not stumble over those sentences,
right.
But hearing it back it's always excruciating. And like when you record, I write, most of my stuff is for video, so it'll be a script of some sort. If you go to the shoot and you listen to it back sometimes and you think, oh God, I've got that wrong. That just sounded terrible. But you have to do it. You have to hear it back because it's the only way you're going to hear those things. You can't avoid it. And yet, well, let me ask you, Kim, do new writers read their own copy? I mean, they will have heard that advice before, but in my experience, most people still don't do it.
I don't think they do, because the people turn stuff in and it's like, or it's like riddled with some typos or missing words, which trip me up. And you never want to do that when you're turning that into a client. I mean, it's just, but I mean, this is another reason why, and I know I mentioned this before we were talking before the call, but I have a checklist that I offer people who get on my Copy Insiders list, but it's actually 5 checklists in one. And like one of them is like the ultimate editing checklist. There's like a few others that really go by each section, like the strength of your headline, the strength of your lead, the strength of your close, etc. And if you go through this very detailed checklist, once you've got your draft, where you really think it's good, like it's yet another checkpoint. So you kind of need to create these checkpoints for yourself, to gauge, so you can step back and, evaluate it, because we do get very attached to our copy and the things we've written, and we think it's so great. And also why you need that 24-hour at least period of when you're done writing before you turn something in, like you can look at it again with fresh eyes. But using this editing checklist is very, very helpful, and is one that I put together over the years, and kind of using different checklists that I encountered throughout my career for some really big name people. And you can get it free when you go to copyinsiders.com.
Those sorts of things are really, really useful as well, because I find this personally, that by the time I've finished a campaign, and let's face it, what we write now often in my industry certainly are 20 to 25,000 word campaigns. It's not just one thing, it's tons of stuff.
Right.
You're so jaded by it that it's really easy to I just need to get it in. And just taking
phoning it in.
Like you can put all the work in, but if you don't do those last bits, it might not be the difference between failure and success.
Oh, it's a huge difference. And, and I came up through direct mail. Like you guys are maybe, I don't know if you guys have worked with direct mail before, but, we're talking at least a buck a package just to send something out. The big investments that publishers making, to promote a product, and every single word was scrutinized at, high levels of, people. I mean, it's not like you could just say, oh, I'm just sick of this. Let me, it's like, no, I mean, like it went through 10 or 12. I mean, I remember writing promos sometimes that would take almost 9 months to get done. I mean, I could literally make a human being in less time that, I could have a baby in less time than it took to produce one of these promos, but everything had to be like just so. I'm just saying the more you can adopt that mindset, the better your performance you'll get from your promos.
And really those things that you do at the end, you know, like you say, you can follow a checklist or you can follow a pattern to just make sure you've caught everything. I mean, one that I always used to try and do was, it sounds so stupid, but just make sure you print it off once and read it on a page, because even the act of seeing it on the page, you can, for instance, you can ask yourself, like, does every page have the promise stated clearly at some point?
Right. Maybe go to a different room and look at it, just kind of get out of your element. And
like another one was I used to work with somebody who would put it through one of those weird like AI filter things that would read it back to you. And this is about 10 years ago, so it was terrible. You know, it was like computerized voice. But he'd just say, well, I just want to hear it back. I don't want to hear it back in a weird way. But like, that was his way of being like, I just want to change the format enough so I might hear something.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. You know, Paris from Propolis once told me that he would sometimes purposely review copy like kind of late at night when he was tired after dinner, you know, and like, was it clear enough? Did it make him want to read it? You know, because you think about it, a lot of times your prospect is looking at your stuff at like midnight, scrolling on their phone, or they just got home from a rough commute and day at work and they're like, why should I read this? You know, or do they even follow along? So, I mean, maybe just read your copy again when you're really exhausted. Maybe you had a little cocktail after dinner or something. I don't know.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know what? I never thought of that, but
yeah.
Your prospect is not reading it at 9 a.m. when you're fresh,
like sharp, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with their coffee, you know.
No, they're far. You're better off thinking, I want to go to the pub in 5 minutes. I'll just see how much I can get through. So you're rushing because you want to go somewhere.
Exactly. Is it getting to the point? Is it grabbing my interest? Does it tell me what does it make me want to, respond?
I think too many people spend too long, or we tend to spend too long saying who our prospect is, and we don't think half as much about where are they. Like, what are they doing?
How are they experiencing our promotion?
How are they seeing that kind of thing?
Because I mean, like I like to tell people, you got the dog barking here because of the Amazon guy just came to the door. You got your kids are like having a fight over who gets the last cookie. All this crap's going on around you. It's like, okay, what were you saying again? Like, you've got to be clear. You got to grab their attention. You cannot confuse them. You got to get to the point. It's got to be interesting, engaging.
You've got to remember that you are not an important part of your prospect's life at that point. You may be, your product may in time become, but the best way of thinking about it is like you're trying to watch a TV show and an advert comes on. Like, what do? You pause it, fast forward it, go make a cup of tea, go and get a
multitask.
Beer, you talk, you turn to the person next to you, don't you? And you say, oh, what's going on? You're watching the TV. Like, you are an imposition on that person's life. And although that might not make you feel good, that's what you do. So you have to be really great to break into that person's
You got to break
world.
through it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
I'm interested
your coffee when you're tired.
I'm interested in asking Kim, because you said a whole load of stuff there, which I'm like, praise the Lord, because it's the same stuff that we always kind of advise people, and it's like, see, I told you this is what
we're not just making this up.
But I'm interested, and without being too curmudgeonly about it, but you've come from that direct mail place. Me and Nick have kind of come from direct response. We've spent all this time where you've got this, it's all measurable, it's all this kind of stuff. But in the modern world, with the copywriters that you're working with, I feel like there might be this, because it's so easy now, because there's there's very little risk of like spending on stuff to send it out and all this. We can just post something on LinkedIn quickly and it's done and we move on to the next thing. I think it sounds like you probably agree with me that it's, because of that, people are quicker, they don't look through the copy, they don't review it as much. But then there is that overarching thing that means that you're not doing the work, you're not doing the training that people who have been through the direct response world have done. And it often is, it feels to me like if you just do that, if you just read it aloud, if you just print it out, if you just go through it, one checklist that you might tailor to yourself, that it's the things that you get wrong all the time.
Yeah, it's true.
You check it. Yeah, that's what people do. Is there any other common mistakes that you notice?
Well, I mean, I think just in general, and I feel like I could just write a whole, book about this practically, but it is very frustrating to yeah, that mindset that, oh, it doesn't cost that much to slap together a page and put it up on the internet, right? To sell a product. It's like, actually, it costs a lot of money if you don't do it right, because opportunity costs, right? Like, oh, it only cost me $1,000 because I wrote the damn stuff. I'm sorry, I'm cussing the stuff myself, or I had some, newbie copywriter, slap it together real quick with an unrealistic deadline. But then you said, well, I didn't really do very well, so maybe this is, something I'll never promote again. Or maybe you're like, oh, I got 100,000 and I'm happy with it. What if it could have been 300,000? Or what if that product could have really launched successfully? And, there's so many missed opportunities when you don't invest and you don't do the very best copy that you can, because the reality is, even though it's only maybe 20%, the 40-40-20 rule, it is that huge needle mover, because there's a million other products kind of like yours. You're going to highly saturated markets. You're going to overwhelmed customers hearing a gazillion marketing messages every hour. And so, you've got to really invest in that copy and creative part to get that breakthrough.
Do you find that for the kind of the copywriters that you mentor and the ones that come through, do you find what are the commonalities of the ones that do seem to come through, that do take it? Is it necessarily their writing skill, or is it actually the work they're doing around? What are the things that you kind of spot and go, that writer's doing well?
They're insatiable learners. They're constantly studying, but also applying. They have confidence. I think having self-confidence, and even if you don't have it, like finding a way to get it, whether it's working with a mentor, overcoming imposter syndrome. But yeah, they are always trying to do better. Like, it's never good enough. You know what I mean? Like, we're all kind of tortured artists in a way. Like, it can always be better, kind of buying into that idea, being open to feedback from the client, working with them, not being a prima donna. My most successful promos have always been ones that have gotten feedback. Again, you stand up for things that you disagree with, but you also don't go in saying, oh, I know everything, you need to listen to me. So those are all qualities that I've seen in really, successful copywriters. And, many of my copywriters have gone on, that ones that wanted to be freelance or work for companies, they've gone on to be pretty successful in doing those things.
Glenn, I wonder if we should wrap things up there, because otherwise we run the risk of, it's later on in the day in the UK, whereas Kim has a full day of work ahead of her. We're going to take off.
Oh, I'm going to take a nap after this.
I'm just, for some reason, I'm looking at the clock on your wall.
I love naps. Well done.
Well, I mean, I just had my third cup of coffee, so I don't think actually that's going to happen. And I am drinking out of my Baltimore Ravens.
There you go.
We were just talking about how much we like Baltimore.
Yeah, we should do a horrendous crash cut to that part of the conversation where we talk about the roads in Baltimore. We won't do that. Kim, we'll share you talked about your checklist, and we'll share information about the mentoring that you do.
Copyinsiders.com. Really important. That's where you get the checklist, and you can start getting my Copy Insiders emails, and it's all like a lot of just wonderful training that I send out. And then I have, if you go to the training page on my website, I have 3 of my core courses: Research Beast, Get Dangerously Good Copywriting System, and $1 Million Controls, where I break down like a half dozen of the most successful controls, like in detail. And you can save $200 off each or any or all of those programs with the code FIX200, FIX200.
Excellent. So
and then if you go to the mentoring page, that's where you'll find all the information about my program, which I am filling up, and the early bird pricing ends the end of November. So be a good thing to check out if that's something you want to do.
So I'll put that in the Discord for Accelerator members. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll post that in the comments, the links you need in the comments directly beneath this video. So depending on where you're watching this, I'll make sure that you can find those links.
Okay.
But any questions, get in touch with us. We can either pass those questions on to Kim or answer them ourselves if we can. But aside from that, Glenn, I think perhaps we should wrap things up. I mean, I've had a great time.
This has been so fun. I feel like we could go on all day.
We really could. I mean, that was when we launched the Fix to begin with. It was like, I wonder if we could find a way of just talking about copy all day. And it's the only thing that really constrains us, apart from our time and my internet connection, which is all notoriously rubbish, but is the amount of copy that we have to review. So if people have copy they want to send in for review, just send it to us at feedback@thefixcopywriting.com and we will review it, because that's
I mean, I like how you keep it anonymous, and it is, like I said, a great opportunity for people to get frank and direct feedback, and hopefully people found it useful.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's really useful. Thank you, Kim. That's all for this episode. But if you'd like to get your copy reviewed, or you've seen some copy you want Nick and Glenn's opinion on, get in touch at feedback@thefixcopywriting.com. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and share.